let's go.
Hi, Kat Chancellor here with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I've been having a lot of fun with this DSP from the Spooky Suite 12 by 12 Specially Designer Series paper. And we've done some pretty ornate cards, but I want to kind of downshift into something a little bit easier, but nonetheless, wow. As you know, I give my cards to the Children's Hospital at the University of New Mexico. So I like to begin to make some of these makes, which are much simpler, and they're not as involved because there are some parameters about when you're giving cards to sick children. For example, they can't have a lot of stuff on them, and I just give them kind of a just one, like the front of the card. I'll kind of stamp something on the back of the card, and then I will slip it into one of the cellophane envelopes. And that way the nurses can go ahead and put comments there and give them to the kids. So I kind of started with looking at a lot of the pieces and parts that came from this sheet here, which is just basically strips and labels. And you can make these for tags, and I wasn't going to make them for tags. I wanted to turn them into cards. So let me just put these aside here because that's kind of like the next project. So what I did is I basically, and I think you recall I said I'm going to have to come up with a project for these iridescent treat bags. So instead of a treat, I'm going to turn them into an envelope bag. And you can see how pretty they are. And I had to cut these down in order to fit this treat bag. I believe these measure 5 by 3 3/4. And then I layered some pieces. And these are just the strips that came from these pieces here. I just basically cut them out, and I just went ahead, and here I did not fussy cut because I'm just keeping it simple to make some fun cards for kids. So this is a card, and I just sat down and I think I made a 12 of them, like this one. I also added like the little bird. This is where I added the little candies, and the stamp set Happy Halloween, this one here, Spooky Halloween, this Happy Halloween, is perfect for filling up the space on these labels. So I have that one, and I'm using this little piece here, which comes on, if we were to look at the whole cutout here, using these. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to see how I could use all the pieces. So here I'm using this, and I'm not really sure what this is. This looks like some kind of like a shake or something. But anyway, I've got that, and again, just kind of fun. I can use these bags if the nurses want to use them as treat bags. They can certainly do that. So I ended up making 11 of these very simple cards with the treat bags as my envelope. Now the other pieces I wanted to take advantage of were these potion jars. Now here they are. They're very plain, just a jar. So what I did is I went on to Amazon and I got these Tim Holtz ephemeral pack snippets, curator, conservator, ideology, and they're just a bunch of labels and pieces. And I can give you, I'll make sure I have the number here. But what I did is I just picked labels and I added them to these jars using this tag here, and I kind of cut it out, and I just have layered different backgrounds so that I could create these. Now, what did I do different? The one thing I did different is that I used some acrylic paint to make some dots, as well as with my crystal effects. Here you can see I popped off the little cork, and the little jar has got stuff coming out of it, and the question is trick or treat. We don't know. Okay, this one is just with the little cork on it. I just have the clear crystal effects. This one I used some neon acrylics. I wanted glow and neon just for fun. The other thing I want you to notice is I want you to notice the bottle. Look at how the bottle shimmers. And I'm going to pick one that doesn't shimmer so you can see the difference. You see how that shimmers and then this one doesn't shimmer? Well, what I did is I'm using some Distress Spritz, and the Distress Spritz just kind of adds a nice kind of sheen. So all of these kind of have that kind of cool sheen on the bottle. And except for this one, because I wanted to show you the difference. And then again, I just kind of pulled out a label. So I think it really kind of sets off the little bottles for a card all on its own. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how I did that if you wanted to kind of apply that technique. So what I did is I took a sheet here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut these out like this. I'm going around the pieces. And I'm going to set this aside. Now what I'm going to do is, because they're cut like this, I can lay this in a box, and then I can take these Distress Spritz, I think it's Pickled Raspberry, and I can spray them, and then I'm going to set them aside so that they will dry. Now there is also these neat cauldrons, and I can cut these out. And I have these cauldrons, and again I have 2 layers, and the cauldrons come with these little spillover. Now the effect I'm trying to get is, I'm going to show you. Do you see how my cauldron here has that kind of that neat kind of look, as opposed to just kind of plain and flat? And then the same with my bubbly over. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this cauldron with weathered wood, and then I'm going to spray the green with twisted citron. So I'm just gonna lay this in my actually I could just kind of do it right here and show you. And there's a little shaker thing in here. You have to make sure that you get all the stuff really mixed up. Okay, so that's good enough. That's all you need. You don't need a lot, okay? And then I just lay it out on a paper towel. Just lay it out on a paper towel. Okay, so that was Pickled Raspberry. Now I'm going to take the cauldrons. Got to make sure I mix it all up really good. And just kind of spray those. Lay those out to dry. And this one. Lay these out to dry. And then I'm going to take these, and I can just wipe the inside of this if you're kind of worried about that. Just lay these in here. So that was my weathered wood. I also need to make sure this is not leaking. This is my twisted citron. I gotta kind of just close that cap again. Just make sure I get it nice and mixed. Just kind of lay that aside. And lay that aside. So I'm going to let those dry, and then we're going to go ahead and put together our cards. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I can take my little broomsticks here, and I can get a, this is called Fossilized Amber. We're just gonna kind of do those, and we're going to lay those as well. Okay, I'm going to speed the video up a little bit as I go through some of the steps of preparing the pieces for assembly. Here I'm just going to go ahead and cut all those tags from the 2 sheets of the DSP so I can use them as labels for my sentiment on these cards. Now I want a trick-or-treat tag for the front of my cards, and there's a couple of places you can find them. They're in the Fright Night stamp set, but I'm using a new stamp set here that's called Sign Design, and that's part of the holiday catalog. And I'm just going to stamp these, and then I'm going to use my small cutter to go ahead and cut them out into little pennants for my cards. Using the Happy Halloween stamp from the Spooky Halloween stamp set, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp all my labels using Memento black ink. Using the same technique that I used for the cauldron and the potion jars, I took my bats and I sprayed them with the weathered wood from the Distress Spritz. Now these are going to be cards that will fit into the iridescent bags, so they're measuring 5 3 3/4, and then the layer is 4 3/4 by 3.5, and then I'm using either the tags or some of those other strips from the DSP just to kind of layer and create my card fronts. Now I'm going to stamp a sentiment on the back of these cards, these card fronts, and I'm using the Spooky Halloween stamp set. I'm going to use the bats as well as one of the sentiments. I believe it's a No Tricks, All Treats in Memento black ink. I'm using the stamp off technique just to give the bats just a little bit more dimension as well. So the next card front, I'm going to take advantage of this haunted tree that's part of the cutouts on this DSP, and I'm using this pattern, kind of this building pattern with the black cats, and I have just taken some of the other DSP, I think it's the orange, and I'm just using that as kind of a background, and I'm going to move my tree and place it so that I can make sure that I can see the cat in the window for each card, and that's going to be kind of how it's going to highlight that pattern. And then I'm going to add, bats or some of the other cutout characters, as well as putting a trick or treat pennant on the front. Lastly, I'm just going to add some crystal effects on the cat, and then I'm just going to use some of my neon glow-in-the-dark acrylic paint just to kind of add some glow-in-the-dark elements. Okay, so now everything is dry here, so what we're going to do is we're going to pop all these out, and you can see how nice they kind of have a nice texture to them. And I'm going to fussy cut these. So each set of DSP has 2 sheets of these, so you get 6. I mean, isn't that pretty? I guess you could kind of put this like this and do 2 at the same time. Okay. Alright, so now that we have these, I'm going to show you how we're going to do each one of these on camera. And I'm just going to take this punches out, so we're going to trim this. Now I know you may think this is tedious, but you know, it all depends what kind of effect you're going for. Okay, so for this is a brand new Stampin' Up marker. These are going to be retired, so if you want these, you need to get these right away. And I'm just going to go ahead and color that. Okay, so that is the cauldron. Now, for our little bubbly here, I'm going to grab a Stampin' Up marker. This is Old Olive, and I'm using the brush side, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to and then for the straw, again, I'm just going to take a okay, so there's that. Then, and I'm going to put this on here like that, and you can see I have, sometimes I like to mark this just so I know what I'm doing. We're just going to mark that, and then I know where to put my dimensionals. I'm going to grab my Crystal Effects . You just add some bubbles there. Okay, and then we're going to set that, we're going to put that aside. So look how nice our little cauldron looks. Now for this one, I'm just going to kind of bend it this way, and I'm going to grab some Tim Holtz Ideology. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to grab a label. I'm just going to kind of bend that label a little bit. And then for this, I'm going to grab some light crumb cake. And there's our jar. So I have my pieces for my card. I'm going to do that with the rest of my pieces. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and assemble our card, and I have two sizes here. This is the regular 5.5 by 4.25 size, which I'm just going to put in a regular cellophane envelope, and this is our special size that's going to go in our Iridescent Treats bags, and this one measured 5 by 3 3/4. So I've already got my layer. This is the orange layer that's from the DSP, and I'm going down by 1. So that is going to be 4 3/4 by 3.5, and then I'm just going to cut a much smaller piece here. I believe this one is going to be 2.5 by 4.25, and that's going to go there. And then I'm just taking these tags here, and I'm just going to kind of fussy cut them and put that there, and then I'm going to pick my little potion jar and put that. And I have, you see, I have my little tin here with my little pennants for trick or treat. So I'm going to do that for this card, and then I'm going to assemble the rest of these cards in this size. Okay. I'm going to show you real quick a technique that I came up with. I'm making my own diffuser, and if you know what a diffuser is, it simply allows you to not have an area that is embossed with an embossing folder. So I made my own diffuser. I took a die, figured out what size I wanted. This was just an oval die, and then I cut this out. I placed this on this plate like this. I positioned where I want my clear space here, and then I just used a regular plate and I ran that through my machine. And what you get is you get this effect right here. You can see I have space where I can stamp something on a card. Here I'm going to put this right there, and I can go ahead and stamp something, or I can just leave it blank. But it's an idea, and I'm going to use it with some other projects, but I wanted to share that technique with you. So there you go. I have that done. And then for these two, I'm just simply going to stamp right on this. And there you go. I have those stamped, and if I wanted to, I could stamp Happy Halloween right there. So there's a fun technique. Well, there you have it. I have created over, and let me see, I have my count here, I think over 45 cards for this session with you. And I have used predominantly just the cutouts from the DSP on this set, the Spooky Halloween 12x12 DSP. Now I have bought several packs of these so that I could put these together, but I wanted to show you how this is really a simple card making. Now I showed you some additional techniques. I showed you how to use some of the Spritz to kind of give some of your potion bottles, as well as using some ephemerals there for some tags for our Wicked Potion bottle. We added some neon and glow-in-the-dark paint to our little potion, and I added those stars that come with this suite. And then turning it over, just using those tags. Very simple, minimal stamping. It's just a matter of, assembling all the pieces and just kind of having some fun with adding some extra techniques. Now these are the ones that are going to fit in the cellophane envelope, and I have it here. And I also showed you how to, I think I have one of the pieces here. I showed you how to do a diffuser to use an embossing folder. This was an old embossing folder that will kind of give you some space to stamp. And this is one of the smaller ones that will fit in this treat envelope bag, this Iridescent Treat Bag. So I have several of those. Then, again, focusing on our cutouts, we came up with how to use these haunted spooky trees using this wonderful background paper with the cat sitting in the tree, adding some bats. I have some stars, but again, using that neon paint, neon and glow-in-the-dark paint, just to kind of outline some of the tree branches. And this little pumpkin here, I used my gel pen to put the little face there, which isn't normally part of the DSP, and then you can see where I added some of the glitter stars. And again, I just use some just various paint colors, and here's purple. It's just really kind of pretty with my trick or treat. And then I just simply stamped the back with my sentiment. These will go into my treat bags, and they will be packed off for the hospital for the children at the University of New Mexico Children's Hospital. Then I did over 26 of these type of cards, where again it's just simply a piece of cardstock and layering just the various cutouts that came with this DSP. This is very simple, uncomplicated crafting for creating a whole bunch of products, right? Just a lot of stuff now that you can share for Halloween. So if you have a Halloween product in mind and you are looking for some inspiration, I hope that I provided some with this tutorial. Now, if you haven't already, please hit like. All of these products and the information will be on my online store, and there will be a link. Now, if you're looking for a demonstrator, please consider joining my team or consider joining as a hobbyist, where you can take advantage of that 20% discount. Additionally, if you are a demonstrator and you like my content and it inspires you for your own classes, hey, please, it's free. Just give me a like, share my content, and leave me a comment. I always love comments. I love hearing from all my subscribers. Now, you'll notice that we didn't do anything with this one. That's because I have my next week's project is going to use our cauldron. So even though I showed you how to put it together and how we were going to assemble it, I want to kind of tickle your curiosity to stay with me and see what project I come up with using this beautiful suite for next week's card. This is Kat Chancellor from Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. Thank you for joining me, and happy stamping.